So
Good, yeah.
let's kind of break this down if you don't mind, because
Mhm.
I know you do the painting, you write. So what is it like, if you don't mind? Kind of help us to understand what canvases, what Candace is all about. Like, so what is it? What is it?
So we are an art studio, and not just an art studio to come do paint and sips. What we do is we aim to always help you unlock the artist within. Everybody has an artist within them in some way, shape, or form. I don't care if you are an accountant and the way you maneuver those numbers, that is an art form. Right? When we think about it, we start these sentences, the art of this, the art of that, right?
Mm,
I use my dad as an example all the time. So my dad is a carpenter, and I always tease, no, he's not Jesus. He's just a carpenter. But my dad builds decks and fences. And there was one afternoon I went out with him, and in my head, he's just making noise. He's banging and clanging on stuff, and he builds it, and it looks great. Like, he does phenomenal work. But to watch how he picks up and chooses each piece of wood so that the knots line up a certain way, so that the aesthetic of the deck itself, he doesn't just throw pieces down. There's a rhyme and a reason. There's an art to even what he does there. And
yeah.
so even something to that effect is what I like to present to people through painting, of course,
Mm-hmm.
because that's my medium. But it allows you to see in other aspects of your life, like our paint and sips are not just your typical, hey, we've got a canvas here, we got some music on, everybody just kind of does what they do.
Right.
I instruct this through from a blank canvas. We start with no stencil. We, we get our paints and all that good stuff. But I take you step by step, and the goal is communication. So
Mm-hmm.
how are you listening to me and me giving you this instruction?
Yeah.
And it's always phenomenal to see. You can have a group of 10 people, and all 10 paintings look completely different. They've had the same instructions, they get the exact same paint, they have the exact same brushes, but what they heard and what they interpreted was different. And that's so much how life works.
Yeah.
We can all be in the same situation, hear something different. And as we talk about this aspect of mental health, when we were talking earlier about validation and being present in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
whatever blockages you may have, I have sat in sessions where I kind of sprinkle these little life lessons as I'm talking, right? Like, we
Mm-hmm.
talk about this one particular brush that's the biggest brush we use. We call him Big Daddy. But Big Daddy, he's the largest brush, but he covers the background. So it does the foundation of the painting. But
Yeah.
you got to have a foundation in everything that you do as well, right? Not
Absolutely.
just art. And so you're getting these life nuggets along the way.
Right.
And I had a client while we were in this session, and I was like, okay, don't rinse your brushes off. We're going to take this color and this color. We're going to mix them together without rinsing. And she was like, I could see her tense up. And I was like, now, some of y'all, that's going to bother you, because some of y'all got a little control issue and you want to do it how you want to do it. But I'm telling you, trust the process. It may not seem like it makes sense now, but trust the process as I explain it to you. At the end of that session, she came over to me, boo-hoo crying. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh, I'm getting my first bad review. What happened? And she goes, Candace, you have no idea what I'm going through in my life right now. That is a reoccurring theme, that I have issues with control. And that helped me to just let it be and live in the present, instead of trying to control what I thought should happen. And that's a thing that you learn in art. They teach you, as far as like a drawing principle, don't draw what you think you see, draw what you see. If I draw a face right now, you cannot see my ears, my hair covers it.
Mm-hmm.
But we know there are ears on a head, so you ideally would draw ears, but there are no ears right now.
Right.
So don't create something that's not there. Again, like we're talking about, that's where that anxiety comes from. So I use that in subtle ways. I feel like most people don't want to go to workshops anymore. I'm a workshop junkie. I love workshops. But if I could slide in a workshop and a paint and sip at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to leave with more than just a canvas.
Absolutely.
And that's always my goal. You're going to leave with more than a canvas. You may get home and now there may be complete chaos, but you know what? I don't have to control that right now,
Yeah.
because you've been in such a relaxed state for the last 2 to 2.5 hours with me.
Yeah.
Them dishes will get done. I promise you they will. They'll get done.
Yeah.
There's no need to, force yourself into this space. And I feel like life has forced all of us into that space, but the pandemic was something that really helped us to all slow down
Mm-hmm.
and just be.
Mm.
And so over the pandemic, I did these virtual events.
Yeah.
And so we did them all through Zoom, and, people would get kits in the mail. And even hearing that, I think, was a really big token for me of, in this space where I have to slow down, and then getting these little nuggets that you give, it gives me a better version or a better visual of how my life could be if I were just take a moment and slow down.
Yeah.
And art teaches you patience. You can't force that paint to dry no faster than it's going to.
Good point.
Right? So you get so many different life lessons through art. And that's just always my goal. I don't care if you are 8 to 80 years old. That's what you're going to get when you come to me.
Man, I love that. You said so much. Like, again, I need to go back and listen to the recording. So I'm gonna tell on me, like, when I come, and I'm gonna come, my painting going straight stick figure. That's it. That's all I got.
I got you.
And here's the funny part about it. I know that about self already. That's my mental block because, and I'm being so it's humorous, but I'm being honest as well. So, and this is going to validate everything you just said. For me, when I draw something other than the stick figure, I don't like what it looks like. So because I don't like it, I go back to the stick figure. And it's funny how life works that way. Because what we do, and I love the fact you brought control into it, because that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
I can't let go my interpretation of what I see when I draw it. And because I don't like it, I go back to what I know work.
Yep.
And stick figures always work for me.
Right. But even that, like we were just saying, when we create that safe space within that trauma, that's what we hold on to.
Absolutely.
Versus, okay, even if I don't like it, but it looks better than the last one.
Right. Exactly.
Because it's repetition.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that art teaches you, and that I really, really push to people is don't try to rush through, especially when we do like the background. Don't try to rush through it. You got a full 2.5 hours with me. Why are you trying to rush through this? Why? Allow the brush to do what it's going to do. Allow the paint to mix and mingle like it's supposed to, instead of you deciding, oh, it's supposed to be blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow. Allow those colors to blend. Oh, well, it's going to make purple if I put the blue and the red together. If that's what it wants to do, let it. It teaches you release.
Yeah.
It teaches you to not be attached. It allows you to just flow with things. And I feel like when people leave my event, everyone has told me, I swear, I get the same comment from people who have never met each other. Candace, the vibe in your studio makes me want to stay here all day.
Nice.
It's just a comfort space. I use aromatherapies and things like that because I do want to create an immersive environment that, you're coming here to paint and you may not have ever painted a picture before.
Right.
And so, Dwayne, just like you said, you're like, look, I'm telling you, you're going to get a stick figure.
Before we get started.
But with the right instruction,
right,
anybody can create anything.
Yeah.
And again, it may not be perfect this time, but that means you come back again.
Absolutely.
That means you do it again. That means you do it again, because again, when you get the right instruction, anybody can create whatever they want to.
Absolutely. So I just want to clean up what I said, because I'm the same person that says, so I don't play the piano, but I believe that I can play the piano. All I need to do is find the right instructor and dedicate the time to going, sitting down, and releasing what I know I can't do, and allowing their faith for what they know they can teach me to do to take over. The same concept when it comes. I know this already, but again, I just like to make jokes about certain things. I know I can't draw, but I have people in my family who can and draw very well. And so, that just said, it's not that I can't. It's just that I never put the time into it to actually discover that I can. And so you kind of introduced the phrase in the beginning. I mean, you talked about it periodically but in the beginning, when you talked about your dad and how he built decks, and, there was a process that he went through, and you watched it and you're like, man, that is art. And see, here's the thing, that this is what jumps out when I listen to you. In the beginning, when you learn how to do a thing, you have to follow the science. There's a process to do the thing. Don't deviate from the process initially. So follow the science. Listen to what someone says. Don't go to somebody and say, well, I want to do it this way, because that's not going to work, right? You got to be totally submissive to the instructions that it is. You have to learn the science. And once you learn the science, now you have to repeat it. So now what you're doing is you're creating a behavior. Once you create that behavior, now you can think into it, metacognition. Now you can think about what you think about in the process, and what ends up happening at that particular point in time, you can find where creativity can happen along the way. Now we're getting into the art of the thing. It's not that you've abandoned the science, but the art comes in with the experience which you develop with your when you created the new behavior. So the new behavior now gets you to the point, say, hey, maybe I can do this. She told me to mix the red and the blue. What happens if I put 3 or 4 colors together? What would that actually happen? What if I moved this? So now it's not that I'm going against the instruction. I'm taking the instructions and I'm making it better for me just by trial and error.
Yes.
And in my mind, I think that's the beauty of it, because it's not that what the old generation taught us was wrong. It's just that we have some other experiences.
Yeah.
And so those experiences don't push away that teaching. We bring that teaching along with us and we apply the new learning to it.
Yep.
So even though, the older generation see us doing things differently, but they can still see the teaching that took place within the new thing that we're doing. And they can sit back and be like, man, that's my son, that's my daughter. You see what I'm saying? That's really what it's all about. I hate to take it and tie it into the whole family thing, but that's really what life is. Yeah.
It's evolution, right? When we think about life and how things grow and continue, everything has to start with some type of seed. It grows from that. Like, I'm a plant person. That's my plan later on this afternoon. I'm repotting some plants. I just propagated some things. But even watching that process was literally cutting a stalk off of one already grown plant to then put it in water, allow it to grow roots, and now it'll be its own plant. But like you said, it comes from family. It comes from these seeds, and it's an evolution. It's a mutation, but it had to start somewhere. So it's like you said, it's not negating what was already set before you, but how can we take what we've learned, and now with technology, with there's been X amount of generations or whatever, how do we take that, expand it, and grow and make it better? We're just enhancing. That's the word I'm looking for. Enhancement.
I love it. So now, so you said something else too, and I'm really curious about that, because you made mention of, if you're an accountant, what you do with those numbers is art. So how do you tie that together with the paintings? I'm curious there, because so I'm not an accountant. Let's just say I was a teacher. There we go. So if I'm a teacher, how do you tie that in? And I'm sure you had several teachers come to you. How do you tie teaching in with the art that you actually teach?
As a teacher, you know the end result already. And so now your goal is to walk someone through how to get to that end result. And whatever deviations they make, you kind of bring them back on the path. And art is the same way. If we see it, so I do a sample painting and I have that posted, and then we start with our blank canvas. So you know where we're going. You can see what this should look like at the end. So as I'm giving you the instruction as we go along, you can still kind of look over and gauge yourself. Like, hey, if we're drawing this tree, all right, she's got the trunk through the middle. Okay. Well, mine is a little to the side. Okay, let me fix that and let me bring it to the middle. She said make it in the middle, but when she said it, that didn't click in the moment, but you still have the example to look at. And I feel like teaching, like I said, even being an accountant, I feel like can look at these numbers, and you look at this spreadsheet and you know where you want it to go, but you have the skill to maneuver the numbers to get it there. When I take my stuff to like my tax preparer, they can see all these receipts and all these kinds of things, and they know what it needs to look like in this spreadsheet. And that's why I give it to them, because I don't, right? So they have a way of being able to see the final product and then walk the steps backwards. It's reverse engineering. Everything we do is reverse engineering.
I like it.
And so I take that same concept and just apply it to art and help them apply it to the rest of their lives.
Man, that almost sounded like it was way too easy for you. I should have thought of a different person. Like, I don't know, the president of the United States. How do you? No, I'm joking.
Same thing.
That was too easy.
We know the end goal.
Yeah.
It applies in everything, right? So think about it. As a author, I know I want to have this finished book. And even like when I published my first book, that was the same thing. Okay, I know I want to have this message in this book. What do I do to back it all the way up? How do I get them to this message? And so you can take any counseling. As a counselor, your goal is to get this person through this situation or through this time. Counseling's kind of ongoing, but every session, the goal is to get to this point. Now, how do I back you up and then bring you forward? So everything we do, same thing like I said with my dad with the decks. All right, it's supposed to be a 10 by 20 with 300, I don't know the numbers, but with X amount of, pieces of wood or whatever, so you know what you need. Now, figuring out how to put it together, like you said earlier, it's following the science. Everything, there's nothing new in the world.
Absolutely.
It's how we put it together. Like, I'm not the first person to teach art class. Like, I just recently watched like the Bob Ross documentary, and like even how he would just go out. He was like living in Alaska. So how he'd go out and just be in nature, how he received those visuals and be able to stand there without any kind of reference and then teach somebody in 28 minutes on an oil painting how to recreate this scene. Same thing. He went out and saw the information. He saw the end result, backed it up, and then took you back down the journey.
Yeah, man, that's not the dude that used to come on and did the
Yeah.
choke. That dude was
With
amazing.
the afro. The dude with the afro?
Yeah, I used to try to do that. Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I was like,
I still can't do Bob Ross paintings.
that dude is awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
man. Okay,
Yeah.
see, I so love it. I really do love it, because what I'm hearing you say is that, in essence, and I'm gonna add my own little flavor to it. I hope you don't mind.
Go ahead.
What I'm hearing, what I'm hearing you say is the only thing that prevents us from achieving the goals that we really want to achieve in life is ourselves and the limitations that we place on ourselves.
Absolutely.
I just need to hear you say it. That's all.
That's it. That is absolutely it. Because what is it? What's the quote? What was it? Henry Ford? If you think you can or you can't, either way you're right.
Yep, absolutely.
Whichever way you think, you're
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Either way. And so when we take that concept, that was such a pivotal moment just in life for me. And I feel like I've kind of always been this way. And I know my mom's gonna watch this and she will check me if I'm wrong. But I feel like
Please
I've kind of
do,
always
too.
been this way. I just do.
Yeah.
Like I've never been, I like to think of myself as kind of a spaghetti style person. I like to throw some stuff up against the wall and just see what sticks.
Yeah.
Because you don't know until you at least make the attempt. I do not like the word try, so I don't say it. You don't know until you make the attempt.
Yeah.
When I opened up my studio, there was no thought. When I started the company,
Yeah.
there was never an idea that I would open the studio. I
Right.
started the company, for me to just have like that fulfillment internally. Like I just liked and enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, starting from a point of, I don't have a car. I don't know where this is going. I just kind of want to make a couple of extra dollars so I don't have to work this second job that I was working.
Right.
I want to replace at least my part-time income with something else that I just enjoy doing versus stocking shelves or whatever.
Yeah.
And to see it continue to grow, and then another party gets booked and another party. And I'm like, okay, well, I can take this and reinvest. I mean, we're a complete debt-free company. So everything that we have built, we didn't seek funding. Everything was complete grassroots.
Yeah.
And I had no blueprint for it. And that's kind of the beauty too, is as an entrepreneur, as a creator in general, with however you look at it, you get to create your own blueprint. Nobody can tell you it's right or wrong.
That's right.
You will trial and error to figure out what works for you
That's right.
and what doesn't.
Right.
Something that may work for you in your industry, in your company, and how you do it may not work for me. It doesn't make what you do wrong, or it doesn't make what I do wrong. It just doesn't work.
I love it.
Even from a musician to a visual artist, you still both telling a story. One is just through paint, one is through words.
Absolutely.
One is through words with music behind it. One is through words on pages as an author or a poet or something to that nature.
Yeah.
So you're all just still finding your lane and figuring out what works, how it needs to work for you.
Man,
That's
awesome.
it.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, Mom, if she did make a mistake, please correct her.
Please do.
we love mothers, right? So I always
Yeah.
want to make sure I reach out to them and just let them know how much we appreciate them and appreciate the hard work and effort that you put in to develop this young lady here.
Yeah.